Table swag. The original idea of this came from Keeping It Simple Crafts. You should go check out her channel. She's got lots of cool stuff. I'm going to start off by going about 2 inches down from the top and twisting pipe cleaners, one to the left, one to the right, just as you see. I'm going to go down another 4 to 5 inches and do one right in the middle, pointing upward. Same process, go down 4 to 5 inches. I'm going to wrap another one to the side, right underneath that, off to the other side. We're going to continue this process all the way down. You can secure yours with some hot glue, and that is what you will see me doing for mine, so they don't slide up and down your stake. This wouldn't be an issue if you're going to use it on your table, but if you're going to hang it up, you don't want it to be pulled down. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I will be adding a 9th one later. So I'm going to take this burlappy mesh and I'm going to put it on my cutting board and take my rotary cutter and just slice up at 21 or 22 inches. You're going to do 4 of those, and we're going to do 4 of this other mesh with the little white dots on it. You can just put it aside. So we're going to have 4 dots, 4 plain, and we're going to start applying them down to our stake. But I'm going to show you right here what we're going to do. You can roll it, you can make what some people call cruffles, where you curl it and you ruffle it. I'm going to show you how I do it. So you either roll or fold over just a little. You can use a clamp to hold it down if you need the extra hand, because it can be frustrating when it tries to come back at you if you're new at this sort of thing. Again, folding over a few times, and then we're going to take our fingers and walk right up the center of that. It's going to make a ruffle for you. So it's going to be 2 rolls with a ruffle in the middle. And you can take off your clamp. There you go. We're going to put it face down, right inside one of the side pieces on the top. You're going to give it a few twists and then lay that back off to the side the way it was. Going on to the next one. Fold or curl it under. And then if you don't use anything to hold it in place, you can just do it with your fingers like this. It wants to cling to the other pieces. Okay, so there you go. Roll that under, bring it together. There you go. Now you're going to place that one down on the other side. Facing downward, you're going to give it 2 or 3 good twists to hold it in place. We're going to take another one, same process. I'm going to show you a few times so you can see exactly what we're doing. Walk it together, put it face down, right in the one in the center. So on the top we have a plain and a dotted, then we have a plain one. Then we're going to put a dotted one on the other side, and then a plain one right next to it. And by plain I mean the solid color. So there we go. Tightly twist it down. And then once you get it all full, you can fluff it out just a little bit and see what's what. Here's our hanger at the top, so we know this is our top. I've decided to add one more piece down here on the bottom because we have room for it, so we're going to add one more, which will be our 9th piece. So go ahead and twist that on. Use a little bit of hot glue. Once your glue is dry, you can set the last piece of your cruffle or ruffle or whatever you want to call it right on top. Next, we're going to start embellishing it and thickening it up just a bit. I'm going to take 8-inch pieces of this same brown mesh. Gonna let it roll back onto itself, and I'm going to use some of this beautiful turquoise or aqua colored or teal, whatever you want to call it, burlap. Gonna roll it. It is shorter, that is not a problem. We're gonna put it right on top, kind of make an X, and then we're gonna place it down into our pipe cleaner. Same thing here. Be sure that the raw edge is on the inside. You can see me kind of manipulating a little bit to make sure that I don't have any rough edges sticking out. You can see there it is a little bit, but you just roll it back in, and there you go. We're going to do this for every single one of those pipe cleaners all the way up until it is full. Don't you love that beautiful color? It's gorgeous. Alright, so next we're going to take about 22 inches of this beautiful burlap, stretch it out, let it overlap about 1.5 to 2 inches in the center. Gonna pinch it, walk our fingers up like we did with the little ruffles that we did for the base, and here's your bow. Very simple, very, very easy bow. You can use whatever type you like, but I like the simplicity of this. It's very easy to make, and I can stick with my original materials. Tie it with your jute, and then start twisting around to give it a thicker center. This is also going to secure those ends together so we didn't have to actually glue it together. I'm just tying this here, and there's our bow. Fluff it out a little bit. I've added tails to mine with a just a tie there. If you want to leave long tails, you can do it like this and then pull some pieces off to make it look rough on the edges, or you can do like I did and trim it down. I'm going to take these 12-inch pieces of scraps, cut them into 6 inches, then I'm going to fold them over and dovetail those. This is Dollar Tree wired ribbon. So we're going to need 9 pieces because we have 9 sections of pipe cleaner. We're going to go down into the bottom, start there so I don't miss anything going upward, and just go up the entire length of the door hanger. You fluff it out a little bit. That wire helps it stay in place, and this is what it's going to look like. You can go ahead and cut down your pipe cleaners that are left over if you want, or you can tuck them to the back. Now I'm taking these boat paddles, or these oars, and I'm just going to see where I like them and then glue them down. You can use arrows from the Dollar Tree in the crafter section, and you can maybe write something on it or put stickers on it. You could say this way to the beach or follow me to the sand. Anything like that you want to do. You don't have to do it exactly like me. This is for inspiration. It's just to get the ideas flowing for you. Then I'm going to start adding in my starfish. I decided since I only had a couple of these white ones, I would add them to the top and bottom. So right over the bow and then right in the center of the bottom. And I'm going to start adding in the orange. I think the orange looks beautiful with the rest of the colors in here. And I'll save the other starfish for another project. So when you're doing a project like this and you don't feel like it's laying flat where the glue can actually catch on to something to hold it sturdy in place, just take like a pencil or a paintbrush, press it up on there and give it a second to dry. And then it's going to stay. Okay, so here are some thrifted beads. They came off of a strand of, I think, Mardi Gras necklace. I think that's what it was. You can cut that down. You can also use pearls from the Dollar Tree. I'm just adding them here and there. I mean, after all, pearls are fitting with an ocean theme, correct? Because they are actually made in the ocean. There's no rhyme or reason to where I'm putting them. Just here and there. Looking at my project from all sides to make sure that it's exactly balanced and pleasing to my eye. And this is what we have. What do you think? Give me a thumbs up if you like this project. And if you're going to try it, I'd love to hear what colors you would choose for yours. Just a little decoration to sit on your table, to sit on a shelf, to put in a vignette. You can put it in your yard even. I'm going to use some of these tiles. They look like they came from a swimming pool, maybe some bathroom projects that were left over. And I'm going to put them here. If you want to use something that's equivalent, since this is really just for inspiration, you can use some of that glass, the tumbled glass that comes from Dollar Tree. You can get it in a bag, and it's over there where at my stores, where the shells are and the sand is. So you can go check that out and see if you can find some of that. That would be gorgeous in this project. But this is what I had, so this is what I'm going to use. Now, projects don't always go exactly as we see them in our head. But I want you to know things are almost always fixable. You can always go in a different direction. That's usually what happens in my projects too. I didn't even think about measuring this first or laying it out before. I just got all excited and started putting it down on my Dollar Tree frame. However, I was able to deal with my issue. It is not perfectly square at all. It does overlap onto the inside of the frame, and it will be long on the bottom, but that is not an issue because the stand, when you put the stand out on the back, it stands away anyhow. See how it hangs over the edge? I thought, ooh, I can't cut this, what am I gonna do? Then I thought, well, you know, there is a stand back there. I can easily just stand this up and this will be the new edge of the picture. No one will even know because you can't see it. So that's what I did. I just kept on going. Kept on going with the flow. This is sort of a pattern, I think. I'm always going to try to save you as much money and give you as many tips as I can in the time that we have together. So there we go. Now, what are we going to put on the inside? I have a blue starfish. We could put some of these flat seashells will fit right into this clamp without breaking. So there's an option for you. Here's a third option. You can just overlap that clamp like it wasn't ever there and put a variety of different shells on here. Or you could use a piece of ribbon and a shell just like that. Yes, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put this, looks like a tiger or a giraffe or something, the print on here. Going to place that down on there. Smush it till the glue comes through, add a little paper on the back to protect it and keep it in place. And you can't see it when it's on there. And we're going to clamp it right on. So for project number 1, we're going to start off with this little picture from Dollar Tree. This is a thrifted frame. And then I have some of these little wooden embellishments and 2 different kinds of rope to choose from. So I'm just getting an idea here of which ones I want to use, and out of those 2 packages I've chosen some shells and some turtles. Now we're going to move over to the little canvas art. I'm using my little trimmer here, rotary trimmer that came from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just cut through that canvas and remove it from the frame. I'm using some pliers to just remove the staples. I'm not going to make it too neat on the back, just clean it up a little bit because you won't be able to see this once it's down. Now we're going to reverse this so you can see how this will look. But first we're going to paint this. So I'm going to protect my surface here. That's just a cutting mat from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use some of this neutral gray paint to cover over this brown frame. I'm just using a sponge brush, but you can use whatever you have. We're going to do all of the front and the sides and the inside area here. So in order to make everything cohesive, I'm also going to be applying some of that gray paint over these brown wooden pieces. I'm not going to put on a heavy coat here either. I just want this to look like it's kind of weathered, kind of washed, like the frame, that larger frame that is off to the left there. It's going to be kind of streaky, kind of weathered and worn, and that's kind of the idea with a coastal or beachy looking thing. I know this is not everyone's cup of tea, but I happen to live very close to the coast in southern Alabama. So a lot of people from down here are still into the coastal thing. All right, I'm going to take the back off and I'm going to cover it with some of this light, it's like a cream colored, like a really light, pretty cream colored burlap to fit over that backing. And I did have some protective surface under there so I wouldn't cut my table. And this is very easy to put down with just a little bit of hot glue. Protect your fingers because it will go right through this loose weave. I'm going to go all the way around here and do the same thing. Got to get my corners folded under so that it makes a nice, neat corner. Then you can just trim up the back, make it look a little neater if you want to. But I won't need it because I'm going to show you another way to cover all that up in a little bit. So we're just going to secure those back down, and that's going to be our backing. Now we're just going to dry brush a little bit of white chalk paint over the top. If you look closely, you can see that you can still see the brown underneath, you can see the gray, and then you'll see this streaky white on here. It's a pretty look. I think it looks very much like the bigger frame that we have in the background. Now we're going to do the same thing here with the frame. We're going to take a little bit of that paint on that Dollar Tree brush, bounce a little bit of it out of there, and then just start working around that frame. I'm going to do the same thing here. I did put a little bit too much in some spots, but after it dried, I sanded it down a bit. I'm not sure why it did that, if it's just the type of material this is made out of or what, but it's easy enough to fix. It's just a little paint. You can go back over it with paint, or after it's dry, you can use a sanding block like I did and just lightly go over it and it will blend it down. All right. So I think everybody has seen this done and probably done it themselves, but just for those of you who don't know how, we're going to just take some hot glue, go around that frame, and lay it on top of the canvas. Kind of center it where you have things nice and squared up. And then you're going to trim down all of the excess. You can go back over if you don't get close to it. It's not a big deal. You can use an X-Acto knife or any equivalent of that, or some scissors, and trim it down. Then I'm going to place it down on top of the burlap. You can do that with some hot glue. I did that on the bottom as well. You can go across, wherever you want to, but you got to be careful with that canvas. If you put a bunch of glue underneath that, you're probably going to see it through there. So just stick to the area where the wood is touching the canvas. Now I'm going to use my embellishments here and there on the frame. I've chosen 2 different shells and a little turtle. And see how nicely all of that looks? It looks pretty close, doesn't it? Now I'm just going to use I have a little tile here that I got from Goodwill in a big bag. I've got a bunch of these. I'm going to put that down, and it's going to act as a little riser for my turtle so that he stands off a little bit and it gives him a little bit of dimension. He's going out to sea. Now I'm going to take this lighter color rope. I decided that looked a little bit better with the background, that cream colored background. I'm just going to trim out the frame with this. Alright, the end that is finished, I'm going to place down in the bottom corner and then just run some glue right along there, and then all the way around the corners and the sides until you get back to your starting point. Okay, so there we go. To the bottom, just pressing it down and toward the frame so there's no gaps and it's nice and neat. And then I'm just going to trim up the edge so it looks, again, nice and neat. And then we're going to need something to hang it with. And rather than just putting a hanger on the back, I like the look of this chunky rope, so we're going to use this as a hanger. And we're going to do a little magic in a moment that's going to make this look like it is going through the frame. To take some of the bulk out and to make it a little bit thinner so the back is closer to the surface that we hang it from, I've just unwound the rope just a tad. This is a very soft cotton-like material. I'm going to press it down, then add a little more glue on top and a little scrap of paper to hold it in place. Same thing on this side, and then you can just take your scissors and cut off whatever is left underneath your little paper. Now here is where the magic happens. We're going to take that same rope and tie a little knot with a little, make sure that you have some end hanging out there, and we're going to do the same thing, cut off that end right there so that you have about the same length on both sides, and then kind of take that rope apart on the end so that it looks frayed, and then you're just going to glue that knot right there on the frame so that it looks like that other rope has went right through the frame. It's not the coolest idea. I love them. They're just such a good tool, and they cut really well through thicker things, so I like to use it for wire and thick rope and that sort of thing. And I'm just going to do that in an approximation to where the rope would be coming out if we drilled a hole, and just fluff out those ends. And look at that. Isn't that cute? It looks like it is tied through the frame. Okay, so now we need to cover up the back. So you can use a scrap of whatever you have. This happens to be a piece of backing from some paper. I think that my kids had some crafting paper, and you're just going to glue that down to the back, and it's going to cover up all the hardware and be nice and neat for you. So here we have it outside. This is outside on my house. We do live in a log cabin in southern Alabama. And this is how it looks. So I have this cute little summer wreath video for you today. We're going to start off with some picks from Dollar Tree. These are also some, well, these particular ones did not come from Dollar Tree. They were thrifted, but you can get similar ornaments during Christmas time. This is some thrifted mesh, and it's kind of a bluish green, kind of a duochrome color. I have some of these little twist ties. This wreath form came from Dollar Tree. It's the 14-inch. Here's a round sign from Dollar Tree. And here are those stickers I was telling you about. I cut the top part off to fit it in my little drawer. But this is what they look like. And then these the little ornaments were thrifted, and the little balls came from some table scatter from Dollar Tree a long time ago. And then this is mesh from Dollar Tree as well. Alright, we're going to start off by getting this wreath ready. I'm going to take my 2 pieces of mesh and pinch them together. I want to put the lightest one, which is the white, on top. You can use any variety of color depending on what you want, but I think it's a pretty good representation of, you know, the ocean and maybe where a mermaid would live in the deep green blue water. So the reason I'm using these twist ties is just because I wanted to show you that you can pretty much use anything to do this. It's really like a long bread tie, but they're used for plants so that you can stake your plants up if you need to do that. But I thought I would go ahead and use it for this. They were thrifted and I had plenty of them, so here we go. Making the most of what we got. I'm going down 10 inches and pinching this up and then attaching it. Now between each of the little dividers that go down through all of the circles of that wreath, I am going to put 4. So we started off on one of those divider pieces and then counted down another 2, and then the last one is the number 4, and it will be attached to that crossbar as well. So you're going to do that for each one of those. Now I fast forward and I'm going all the way back around to where we started. You can see that one roll of this Dollar Tree mesh just about makes it all the way around this wreath. You could probably stretch it a little longer if you made 9 inches poofs instead, or 8-inch poofs instead, but you know, you make it work. And certainly mesh is forgiving. You can always fill it in later, and you'll see that I did the same thing. So we're going to go all the way back to where we started from, put that down, and when I run out of the white, I'm just going to continue around just making those poofs with the bluish green color I have there. So the last one is going to be right on top of where we started. I'm just going to open that up, push it down tight, and twist it. You can always tuck those under if you don't need to use them anymore. Then I'm going to measure 8 inches, go up. I'm going to skip one ring and go to the next ring, and I'm going to start there and do the same thing. It will be 4 on each of those, go all the way around just like I've done here, attaching it down the exact same way. So now I'm going to alternate pulling the white on top and then the white on bottom, and see blue and white and blue and white all the way around the wreath. Okay, so that's what you see me doing here, is just fluffing that out, pulling those poofs apart, and dividing up that white so it goes up and down around the edge of that wreath. It almost gives it the effect of being more than there actually is. I'm going to take the sticker off the back here, and I'm going to start painting this round sign. The other side I just sanded a little bit. I'm going to use a variety of blues and blue-greens that you would naturally see in the water or in the sea or in the ocean. So just showing you a variety here. And I think I end up using 5 different colors. I'm going to start off with the darkest color because it's going to be the deepest, it's going to represent the deepest part of the ocean. So I've got my dark blue on the bottom. Realistically, it would be a lot more blue than that, a lot darker, blacker. But you know, this is whimsical, so we're working with what we got. So now I'm going to do some blue-green. I'm going to use the same brush and just kind of ombre it down, just kind of lightly blend it down into the next color. Then I'm going to pick a shade that's a little bit lighter than that, go right on top. Same thing, I'm not taking any paint off, I'm just going to go ahead and put that paint down on there and blend it slightly down into the bottom 2 colors. And we're going to keep doing that with each of the different colors all the way up to the top. Don't worry about the hole in the sign, that will be covered up. So it's looking like we're getting closer to the surface of the water, right up to the top. So the color is getting lighter as it gets closer to the sun. I had too much fun doing this. I did originally try to do something like this with spray paint, and it was a big old fail. So I definitely recommend you use your acrylics or watercolors, whatever you have. The acrylic worked perfect on this board. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Oh, I even impress myself sometimes. They were with the Easter stuff, and I thought these looked like coral or something that would live in the ocean. So I'm going to cut each one of these off of these 2 different colored picks. There is a aqua color and a kind of a sandy gold looking color, and it matches well with what we got. Do you see my little tray? This little tray and this little broom is what I use to clean my table with all the glitter. Now I've got a bunch of shells. You can get these from the Dollar Tree. So I'm picking through this huge container that I have. It's a big old, almost like a cereal container that's plastic with a lid, and looking at all the different colors, and I'm kind of comparing it to what we have. If you see the little mermaid in the corner, she's the one we're going to use. So I'm kind of looking at the colors and what will look good with that. Okay, so I'm missing a little bit of footage here, but it's pretty simple. I just added some stickers. We're going to secure the back on with hot glue, pipe cleaners, and a little piece of paper. And this will give us a way to attach it to the wreath. I don't want to pull it too tight because I don't want it to squish down my wreath. I want the wreath to still be full, and this will look rather like it's floating on top, just sitting on the top. So I took one of the little friends, the little turtle, because that's what my daughter wanted, and she chose this mermaid, and my daughter does have blonde hair, so that may be why she chose this one, but they're all very cute. And the little stars also came off the pic, and I just randomly put those around the edges. So I'm going to alternate these, blue, gold, blue, gold, blue, gold, blue. And then I'm just using a little piece of pipe cleaner. You can use whatever wire or whatever you have to stick these together. I'm just using this to kind of hold them in place. You could probably use a little rubber band. And then I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue as well. This helps them stick to that fuzzy part, and it's also going to help it stick to the back of this board. And I'm just going to use one of my Dollar Tree clamps to hold this on. Don't clamp over your glue though, just clamp over the stems. Gonna do the same thing here, and this is going to be at a diagonal up on this side. Don't worry about them being bunched up, because you can move those around a little bit once they get dried. Going over here on the back and adding some glue. Now once that's dry and the glue is cool, you can take your clamps off, and then you can move these around a little bit. Make them look as though they would in the ocean, where they have a little bit of movement. So again, I kind of go by feeling when I do my crafts. So I'm just putting things down and trying to get an idea of what I think looks good and what colors and sizes look right. And there we go. I got a variety of colors there. I've got a small one mixed in there with the larger ones. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. It's almost like mini shell arrangements on each side. That one reminds me of the little, like from a narwhal, and the little sea turtle has one of those for whatever reason. She has one on her head, so I think it's fitting to put one on here. Then I'm just taking these little bitty shells and filling out here and there. Now I thought these ornaments, when I saw them, they looked just like bubbles. They're iridescent and they look like bubbles, so I thought that was perfect. I'm putting those down. I'm just going to use 3 of them. I think I had 6, but I'm going to use 3. It's going to take a bit of glue to hold that down into that mesh, and they're going to have a tendency to kind of push up from the mesh because it's kind of bouncy and flowy. Just hold it down if you need to until that glue sets up. Then I'll take these glittery ones. I'm going to turn them upside down because I don't want those to show. We don't want them to look like ornaments. We want them to look like bubbles. So we're just turning them around and pressing them down. The bigger ones I was able to remove those silver toppers, but these little ones were glued on, so I just left them there. Then the little foam table scatter, I'm going to start filling in with those as well. Just going to put them here and there. It's like clusters of bubbles. You can use a little bit of glue in between them to hold them together if you need to. And sometimes just gluing it to the one beside it and a little space underneath it will hold it the way you want it. I don't want these to fall off, and you have to be careful with hot glue and styrofoam at any rate. They don't always get along well, but I did use a high heat gun and it worked just fine. So there's also some of these blue ones, and I think I got those from Dollar Tree too. Might not have. They may have actually came from Goodwill, but I'm sure they came from someplace like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or a craft store if they didn't come from Dollar Tree. But random too, if that makes any sense. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. I've had this idea in my head for months now, and I just did not get it together to do. If this is something that you like, please let me know. I really enjoyed doing it, and I would be happy to put out more content like this if it's something that you're interested in. Now these definitely came from the thrift store. I do not know where they originally came from. They are styrofoam underneath, but they are sequined on top, and there are a few that are like a sand color, and a few of these are a very pretty blue color. So I've just used those as just accents because I didn't have very many of them. I think maybe I had 4. Now these are These I actually found at the beach. They are like pieces of sand dollar, maybe broken sand dollar or broken pieces of shell. I like the irregularity and that they're white, so I went ahead and used those in the project too. Now for this one, it's a little bit bigger, so I'm going to put it underneath. I put the glue on the top of it and I'm just holding it underneath until it sits up. There's no right or wrong. You just do what feels right to you, and that's how I do it. So I'm going back in with some of these little tiny shells and putting them here or there. I've even overlapped on some of the star stickers, and I've added some more stickers. And then here we go. This is our hanger. All right, what do you think about this little beauty? Isn't she the cutest? And then here is the wreath. This is our little mermaid wreath. And she turned out very nicely, I think. Again, please let me know if this is something that you would like to see more of from me. We're going to start off with a seahorse wreath. Dollar Tree has some amazing stuff right now. I'm going to use some nautical rope, both the soft one and then the rough one that's brown. I'm going to use some of this meshy ribbon, some netting, some of these pieces of sea glass, a willow pick, and this gorgeous salty and happy seahorse sign from Dollar Tree. And here is a placemat. It is like a wicker kind of placemat. I got it at Goodwill. We're going to start by removing the hanger on the seahorse, putting a piece of tape right over the back side, and then we're going to use a little bit of this spackling from Dollar Tree to just fill in that hole. Very simple, easy to do. Whatever's left you can put right back in the little jar. Alright, I already know that I want this to be dimensional. So I'm going to use these little blocks, these building blocks from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to put these on the back. And this is going to allow us something to glue it down to, but still have some room so that we can tuck little goodies along the way as we decorate this beautiful wreath. So once we get the blocks down, we're going to put some glue on them and place it down on the mat. This is a square placemat, and I decided that the diamond shape would be exactly what would be fitting for this beautiful little salty and happy sign. So here's some options for you. You can just use the cotton type nautical rope if you wanted to, or you could layer it with a little bit of this rougher, it's more like jute, rough rope around the outside, or you could just use one or the other. Or a little idea is you could twist these together like I'm gonna do. It's easy enough. You're gonna take those little taped sections, they are taped on the ends. I'm going to use clamps to help me hold it in place until my glue is dried, and then I'm just going to begin twisting these ropes together. Trying to keep in mind as I'm twisting to make sure that the distance between them is equal, meaning that the size of the twist is about the same for every twist. That's easy to do, right? You can use clamps along the way to help you hold them down if you would like. Now I'm just going to tighten it up a little bit and go ahead and glue this down on the corner bottom of the placemat. It's going to hold it in place here, and then any place that it is going to be touching the mat, I just roll it up a little, add some glue, and then roll it right back down and hold it on there. I'm using Gorilla Glue for all of the projects today. I'm going to continue around in any place that it is going to be touching to add the glue. And then we're going to do the same thing into the corners. If you need clamps to help you hold things in place, go ahead and grab some clamps, and you can definitely get metal or plastic clamps at Dollar Tree. And of course, I use Dollar Tree items, but I'm not sponsored by Dollar Tree in any way. I just like to give you beautiful decor on a budget, and going to Dollar Tree and getting thrift items is the way to do it. And it brings me joy to share these things with you, so I hope that it brings you some joy. Okay, once we're all the way back to the beginning starting place, I'm going to use some clear tape and I'm going to wrap it around my rope. I'm going to do this to both of these because we need to trim them and I don't want them to fray. So doing it this way keeps them nice and tight on the ends. I'm just going to use my little cutters here to cut this off. You can certainly use scissors, but it's awful thick and I don't want to ruin my scissors. I'm going to glue those two right back together. And yours may or may not look like this. Depends on the size of the placemat you use, obviously, but trim it down to where you need to trim it. I'm going to do the same thing with this brown rope. I'm going to cut it and get it on both sides and then twist it around to the back. It's going to overlap where the other two are joined, and I'm going to use a good amount of hot glue here to hold this in place. You can clamp it until it is perfectly in place if you would like. Now, just to make sure that I have it on here snugly, I'm going to use the back side, and I'm going to take my little glue gun and go right around the jointing between the wood and the rope to make sure this doesn't go anywhere. So now I want to do a little something with the seahorse. We're going to make this a girl seahorse, and it already came with the little metal star here, so I'm going to add that back, but in a little bit different of a position, and then I'm going to layer it with one of these little starfish that comes in a 3-pack from Dollar Tree. And I think this is called the Shoreline, maybe. It's that product line at Dollar Tree. They have got some beautiful things. I'm going to use this willow pick and cut it down. This comes in a variety of colors, so if you chose to use a different sign besides the seahorse, you can certainly get something to coordinate. I think there's a big variety at most stores right now. Love this meshy ribbon. I don't know what that stuff is, but wow, it really looks like coral. All right, now I always like to do a dry run. Y'all know this. I like to place things down before I glue them. I don't want to make them permanent until I'm sure. So I just kind of toy around with the placement. I was able to cut this pick into 5 pieces, and one piece I'm going to trim down and make into a shorter piece so that we have 6 pieces. I'm going to make some little ribbon bunches here, or mesh. I guess we could probably just call this mesh, right? So I'm going to take this mesh, bundle it up about 1 inch from the bottom, and I'm going to take some of my jute and tie it off. I'm going to use a double knot, and this way it doesn't slip. And I'm just going to take sections of this mesh to make little, maybe to kind of mimic seaweed or coral. You'll see in just a minute. So I'm going to measure off about 10 inches. I'm going to grab my ruler here for you. And it's about 10 inches, but you can do yours longer or shorter. If you get it too long though, it's going to kind of flop away, and you don't want that to happen. You want it to stay close to your project that you're working on. I'm going to take another piece of that jute. And you know, if you're the kind of person like me who saves everything, this would be a great time to go into that stash where you've removed all those little jute hangers from your Dollar Tree items in the past. Pull that pile out and use those on this project. How about that? That'll save you even more money. So I'm just going to continue to do this until I get 4 different segments. Once I get the knot in both little ends, I'm going to cut underneath and leave about, 1 inch on the bottom of it, and then trim down my jute so that I have doubled sections. So now I have the beige underneath and the white on top. You can layer any colors that you like. I think there's a white, a cream, a beige, brown, and green. Those are the ones I've found so far, but feel free in the comments to let me know if you found any other colors besides those. Help us all out. And of course, different stores have different, supplies and different things, so it kind of varies. If you have the opportunity to go to more than one Dollar Tree, you might want to do that when you are hunting for your goodies to make your projects. Coffee. Okay, so there are our 5 pieces, and I think I want them to lay down here, so you can either start by gluing right down on your placemat, and if you're going to use a regular, if you're looking for a placemat, you don't find one that's thrifted, you're going to need to buy one that is sturdy enough that you can hang it on the wall. sturdy enough that you can glue things to it and it's not going to flop around. So getting something like wicker or wood is a really good option. Something with some thickness, I guess you could say. So now I'm just going to either glue onto the placemat and then lay it down, or I'm going to put a little bit on the pick and lay it down. You can do it either way. Be sure you protect your fingers if you're going to choose to do it this way, just to make sure that you don't hurt yourself. I don't want anybody having accidents when you're supposed to be enjoying the projects. Okay, so I like this so far. It looks good. It definitely looks like plant life in the ocean. So I'm just going to take my little wire cutters and trim these down. And now we have two smaller ones. I can make it even on both sides. You don't have to though, and you could certainly use more picks than just the ones, you know, just the one that I used, and you can use a bunch of different colors and really make it look tropical and gorgeous, because we all know that the ocean life is beautiful and colorful. So now I'm going to start working with these little pieces of mesh. You can twist it like that to kind of give it that seaweed look if you wanted to, or you can just kind of make it look wavy in there. And I know that I want to have mine to open up like this, so I'm going to stretch it out just enough that I know I'll be able to show both the beige underneath, or the cream underneath, and the white on top. It's just going to give more dimension to our project instead of it just being something that's flat like a sign. I really want this to be like a wreath. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue, and I'm going to take a stick, just a little, you know, I get all kinds of stuff like this at Goodwill, so it's just a scrap of some sort, and poke it in there. It's going to go under there because we raised it up off the placemat, and now we have the little gaps that we can tuck things under, which really brings it more to life. I know crafters use the term dimension a lot, but it really does. It gives you shadows, it gives that extra interest, and it gives you more space to work in, so that your otherwise flat projects can be lifted up. And I think it looks really nice. Hey, if you wanted to, you could even take some Dollar Tree string lights and go underneath the seahorse, and that would light it up. Wouldn't that be pretty? We're going to be working on some more lighted projects shortly though, so hang in there. Alright, so I'm going to continue along and just tuck these back and forth where I want them, add hot glue where I want them, and so that they will stay in place. And I like the look that maybe he's kind of hiding in the coral. Maybe he's finding some protection in there. Seahorses are little guys, so, you know, we want to make sure that they feel safe in their home. Alright, now I'm just going to pull these down a little bit, kind of have them hanging off just a bit. I like the look of it. It's cute like that, I think. But you do it any way that you like. So I've got this little bag. Now, these little twisty things, along with some other stuff, it's like a table scatter, and I believe it came originally from the At Home store, but I got it at Goodwill and put it all in a plastic bag. So I have these to use on all my projects, and these quite nicely pull apart. And they're short and shrunk down, and then you can pull them carefully, and they kind of unwind a little bit. This is really cool. Now, some other options for you to make little puffs of coral or little wispy pieces is to cut a couple of sections, and then rather than dovetail them, you want to cut them in the opposite direction so that they're kind of rounded. Instead of having a little like a V cut in it, you're going to round it out instead. Fold it in half, bunch it up, add some glue, protect your fingers of course, and then hold it in place. Give it just a minute to dry, and then you can lift your finger up and it'll stay right there. All of these little extra pieces just give it more dimension. They give you something more to look at. They give your eye something else to wonder over. And I love that about crafting, because we can make things our own. I'm going to continue to tuck around here and there. Now I've got the beige. Some pieces are going to be doubled, some are going to be single. It's going to give us a nice variety. Recently, I got a comment from somebody who was watching that says I talk too much. So that's interesting. And I do apologize if anybody thinks that I talk too much. I like to communicate with my viewers and subscribers, and have had so many people say that they appreciate that about me. So I'm going to keep doing what I do here, because I'm always going to try to stay true to myself but give you guys what you want. So continuing along, I've added an eyeball. There was 2 little circles. This is the eyeball. There were 2 of these little marbles in that bag of sea glass, which was awesome because I didn't know they would be there, and it makes the perfect little eye. I just decided that maybe she needed a little something else up there on her head, so we're going to give a little, I think that makes it perfect. Look at that. There's a shell that used to be an ornament. It's kind of iridescent. I've added that, and that little poof back there. I think that looks pretty. Now I'm going to take the sea glass that in the colors that I like, which is the white and the kind of that seafoam green color, and I'm going to add those in there. Just kind of lay them around those little wicker balls, which by the way came from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to glue these pieces in here and there, and then I'm going to add in these little cone looking things, look like cornucopias. I don't want everything to be matchy-matchy on both sides. I want it to be kind of wild and random. And just add those down. You know, this one's hanging over the edge a little bit, and I like that. And then I found just, these were in somebody's Christmas, like Christmas ornaments. They were these and a bunch of other little Christmas things, I think, at Goodwill. And so I picked up all of these because I thought these are perfect for little bubbles. Don't they look good for bubbles? I did a mermaid wreath, and I used some little ornaments that were similar to this. I will try to link that mermaid wreath. It was from, I believe, last year, maybe the year before. It is really pretty, and if you like this kind of beachy or, you know, ocean type of thing, I think you'll really love that little wreath. And they do look like bubbles to me. Again, more dimension. Then you got the shininess from the little pearly bubbles. And you know, the pearls are in the ocean, right? I think it's perfect for that. But you do what you want. You can also get the little table scatter that's like in silver and white and blue and white, and you could use something like that on there, and that would look nice. I'm just continuing to look at this piece from all sides, all directions, and add in wherever I feel like I want to add something in. I'm going to add some more glass down here on the tail, and just tuck those pieces around, and one more little poof underneath the end and glue it down. Not bad, not bad. Now we're going to make a hanger. This is very simple. I've got about 8 inches of jute here, recycled jute. I'm just going to tie a knot, pull the knot down tightly, and then we have a hanger. I'm going to put it in the top tip, and then use some of my glue. I put the glue under it. I'm going to add glue over it as well, and then a little piece of scrap cardboard right on top. And this is this beautiful little seahorse wreath. Oh, she's gorgeous. She's just stunning. Next project is a starfish jar lantern, and we actually have 2 of these. So I found these in that same shoreline or shore whatever section at Dollar Tree. These beautiful little lanterns or jars. Continuing with the glue sticks, you're going to need something like this if you're gluing on glass, or you want to switch over to something like Fix-All adhesive, super glue, E6000 to glue onto glass. I know that I want to put these on. I tried the starfish, but the dollars, the sand dollars, but I really didn't like the dimension. So we went back to the starfish here, and I'm going to add some glue. The legs are the center and the legs are at a different dimension, so the center is higher than the rest of it. I'm just going to use the rope to glue onto the starfish tips where I can, because I know I'm going to get a better hold from rope to that little, I don't know if that's resin or what these are made out of, but they're not real. They're I believe, resin. And you can glue it down like that rather than gluing two shiny surfaces onto one another, because they're probably going to pop off. I mean, use a good glue, but just to be on the safe side. I have this much rope left from that project. I'm just going to fold it in half. I'm going to cut it after I put some tape on it. Again, the tape is going to keep you from having any frays, and I don't want it to fray out. So I'm just going to wrap that all around the center. And this is going to give me about two 12-inch pieces of rope after it is cut. And I'm going to use my cutters again. Cut this any way that you want to cut it, but I'm going to cut it right in the center so that I get the same amount for both little pieces of rope. If you don't have tape, here's another option for you. Take your hot glue and your protected fingers, poke down in the fibers, and then just twist it in the direction that the rope is already twisted in. And this will kind of help lock that into place. So there are your options for that. I am going to glue this right down on top of the jute ring that is already around the neck of this bottle. You see here, it's right on top of that jute. Same thing here. I'm going to twist that glue section around and then just press it straight down on the jute. These ropes are going to cling nicely to each other. I'm going to take some type of trim. This one that I chose came from Dollar Tree. It's beautiful. There are several different colors of this. They're really pretty. It's probably be a good time to stock up because there's a lot on that spool. I'm going to start on the bottom and then wrap around. Now, for one thing, I'm trying to cover up the connection between the rope and the jute. And also, I want to bring that beautiful striped coloring or design into this project. So I'm just going to wrap it around and around, and I'm trying to do this in a way that it's not overlapping and I'm wasting my twine. I want it to stack one row on top of the other, but still be thick enough that I get a full coverage so that you don't see a bunch of gaps in there. There are some right now, but we're going to fix that. Not a problem. Nothing is glued yet, so we can very easily slide those pieces of twine together. So you're going to see me do that now. Just take my fingernail and just push those together, and then I can continue up and wrap it further if I need to. And it'll sit nicely under the lip of that bottle, which is great because it makes gluing it down so much easier. You can just tuck that edge right under there. Now this is the back side of the bottle. We don't want to have our starts and finishes on the front because we don't want to see that, right? We want this to be high end. So we're going to conceal it by putting it in the back. Although it does blend in fairly nicely because it's very thin. So this is how it looks. We're going to do the same thing to the other jar. And now we have two of them. So now you can embellish these any way you want. You could put sand in the bottom. You can add, like, these are just like some driftwood pieces. You can add driftwood in there. You could add some shells in there like I'm going to do on the other jar. You could add table scatter if that's what you would like to do. You could fill these up with some more of that sea glass. That would be really pretty as well. You could also add a little light like that. So this is what it would look like. Just, you know, basically it's not stuffed full, but just to give you an idea of what it would look like when you put something in it. Starfish hanging light. Okay, are you ready for the main event? Okay, so I'm going to take some of this thrifted mesh, a little hanging LED lantern or whatever you call it from Dollar Tree. I have some thrifted sea glass and starfish tinsel. I have two strands of that. I have this hanging basket from Dollar Tree and some satin blossom white chalk paint that we are going to put on there. Make sure when you buy these that it has the little clear tab in there so that your battery is not run down. Alright, once it is painted and dried, only one coat because I'm not doing anything major with this. It's going to be covered for the most part. I'm going to remove the chains. I'm going to put them aside. I definitely could have done this without my chains, but I wanted to hang it to spray it, and this made it easier. So I'm going to save the chains for another project. I've used my pliers and taken off the hook. Now we're going to have something to hang it with, and we're going to use jute. You can use rope, jute, the original chains. You can use some type of a garland. You can use whatever you would like. But I'm going to use 3 strands, all equal length. I'm going to tie a knot in the end, and while the knot is still loose, I'm going to take my hanger and loop it through. You can see that I have all my ends out. I'm going to loop it through and pull it tight. You can do a little extra securing with hot glue there if you want to, but I didn't feel the need to do that. This is going to be in. Then I'm going to close that joint there. Now we have our hanging mechanism. We'll be taking those little hooks that came off of the planter and replacing those, one on each strand. Easy enough to do. Probably didn't have to show you this. The main thing you need to know is that in order for it to hang nice and evenly, you're going to make sure that you tie these ropes at the same length. Now you can do that by just making a loose tie in it and then sliding it down to the right length so you get them all the same length. And start off with just a knot. You don't need a double knot. That way you can untie it and fix it if you need to. And then I'll have all of mine hanging at the same length. Perfect. And test them against each other and make sure you have the same amount there. And there we go. Now I used my pliers or my cutters and cut off the little extra wires around this center ring because they were snagging when I tried to wrap my mesh around it. So just cut those off and then take some masking tape or duct tape, whatever you want to use. The reason I use masking tape is because of the color. You're not going to be able to see a bunch of silver duct tape through my mesh. And you'll know what I mean when I start wrapping it. But I'm going to secure this so that it doesn't snag any of the mesh. And then I have cream colored mesh, which makes it perfect. Use whatever deco mesh you have. I don't recommend anything that's really like fabric or anything unless it's very sheer, because you won't be able to see that light that you're going to put in it. The light is not very bright, and I want mine to have just a really pretty glow. So I thought this mesh was perfect for that. Dollar Tree also has a lot of mesh. It didn't take a lot to wrap this. I just cut a section off of there. I didn't even measure it. And I looked up with the right length. Tie this on around the center ring and then just begin to wrap this back and forth around your spokes. I tried to make sure, well, I say spokes, but you know what I mean. This is not a tire, but the little supports, I guess you would say. Trying to make sure that I had some over each one. That way it was evenly spaced and I didn't have a bunch of overlaps and then a bunch of spots that are sheer. You know, we wanted this to look high-end again, so we're going to keep doing that and wrapping over those sections till we get all the way around. And this was easy to do, but if those little pieces were still in the center of that ring, those metal pieces, it would have been a mess. It just really would have been a mess. So you can just push this over those little areas where you hook. It'll just go right over it and then around. And look at that, I had just enough. And this will be the back. I'm going to make it the back. So I had some little frayed ends here. It's not a big deal. You can trim that off. All those little pieces that are sticking out, I'm just going to trim that down and make it look nice and neat. Now, we'll make that the back of it, and nobody will know. And this is what it's going to look like when you have it wrapped around with your nice mesh. I'm going to layer this with a piece of that nautical netting. I don't think I'm getting the word right, but you know what I mean. You get that at Dollar Tree as well. And I'm just going to cut a tiny section out, spread it out, and layer it over the top. You can skip this part if that's not your thing, but I like the layering. I like it. Kind of looks like a jellyfish, doesn't it? I'm trying to get these little grids evenly spaced so that I can add some hot glue and keep them from falling off. I don't want it to fall off. Trying to add just a little bit and then press it together with my fingers and then add onto sections like around the metal where I can. That way it has something to hold on to besides just the mesh. So that's what I'm doing, just tacking that down all over. Now to switch the angle up for you, I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this gorgeous tinsel. I'm looking at this first off to see how I want this to stretch out. And I think the best way to apply this is to make sure that there's a starfish on every one of those little cross sections. Because I'll be gluing that starfish straight down onto another piece of something solid like the metal. It's going to help hold the mesh in place. You can see I'm holding it right on there. Give it a good little minute there to dry. And then I'm going to pull it around and put the next one down. Glue it down on that metal. If you don't have a piece of garland that has all of these bigger sections and smaller sections, you don't even have to use this process. You can just wrap your garland around and glue it any way that you want. But I do recommend that you put it on metal. Look at this. Is this not the cutest little thing? Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we're going to put the hanger back on. But first we need to cover up this ugly white hanger. So I'm going to take my jute, tie it around the knot from our little hanging sections here, and just slide it up. You tie this on however you want to. I'm just going to trim that little tail off of there and then begin to wrap it around the entire hook. I'm going to cover this whole thing up. Add a little bit of glue where you need it. Keep sliding it down and then just cover that whole thing up. See, even when I make an attempt to not talk, I feel like I should be talking. So let's fill in the space with a little happiness, right? So what's bringing you joy today? This craft is bringing me joy today. Look how easy that is. A little glue on the end, twist it, cut it off. Then any little extra little piece here, you can just see how I wrap it on there in the direction it's going in. That'll help seal off those little frays, and then you can cut that little tip right off and you have the perfect hook. Besides, I love talking to you guys. I like talking to you. I just do. All right, we're going to add these back on. I'm going to clip it, one to each section, and then that's easy to do. Making sure that it is where it needs to be, and I'm going to push that hook through the hole here because we're going to flip it over, and now this is the top of our light, right? So I know that I'm going to put this inside because it won't fit if you do it upside down and you try to push it through there. It won't fit that way. So we're going to try something different. I'm going to sit it on top of a can. That way I can very easily fix this part. I'm going to make sure that my hanging pieces are exactly where they need to be because we're going to be using glue and you can't move them after that. So making sure they're in the right spot, making sure I have my light where I want it. I'm just going to add some hot glue, dibble dabble here and there, and then press it down in the middle. Then I can turn. Look how cute. Now, for the top, I left mine open for now, but you can make a flap with a piece of ribbon, whatever you want to use. Glue two sides down, and then that way you can fold it open when you get ready to turn your light on and off. I'm just going to take the hairs off of this hook. I don't recommend you do this if you're afraid to do it. You always need to use safety, of course, first. This is not for children. My videos are for grown-ups. Perfect. All right, now here is our overview of our little items. I staged them for you. First without the candles, and then in a moment I'll have the candles on. I've changed up my backdrop. I've changed some things in my craft room. I've gotten more organized, and it's making these processes so much easier. Here's our lantern. You saw the seahorse sign. My little Adirondack chair there I got from the thrift store. Here are our candles, if you like that look. Look at our lamp. Our little hanging light. Ugh, I believe in you and I know you can do this. I hope that this video has inspired you to create some things without having to spend a ton of money. Subscribe to this channel if you've enjoyed this video, and if you like to save money but still creating works of art like this. Take pride in what you do. We all have craftiness within us. We just got to believe in ourselves, right? Believe in ourselves and draw on that power. I thank you so very much for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.